Hi, we're talking about beginner requesting this time around. There's so much more to requesting than verbal responses. So if you've got a beginner learner who doesn't know how to talk, that's okay. Sure, we can teach them how to talk, but the real thing is teaching them how to communicate. And communicate doesn't always mean verbal. So there's a whole bunch of different ways we can teach our learners to communicate and to request without even using language.
Yeah, and when we look at an assessment, it kind of gets intimidating because you're thinking like manding. They need to mand for items and mand for actions. And how do we teach manding or requesting when a student is really not even ready for that? And there are so many foundational or preliminary skills that a student really should have before you get into verbal manding. Those are covered by things like the ESDM, by the BCBA, by some of the more beginner learner type of programs, and they include so much more than the verbal.
So you can look to things like pointing, for instance, right? So pointing, you don't need to be verbal to point. So teaching students to point to items that they want. You can also teach giving. So I need help opening something. So I'm going to give the item to Shira to help with opening it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones because I find that anyone who I even just meet for the first time, like, a little child, a 2-year-old who they never met me before, but if I have something that they want, or if I'll take a spinning toy and I'll make it spin. If they need me to do that again for them, they're more likely to learn to give it to me. And that really is a communication request. They're interacting, they're communicating. There's two people communicating. There's the initiator and the partner, and there's an interaction happening. And that's a really great beginner request.
I love the wind up toys. My other favorite is putting things in clear plastic containers, right? So a peanut butter jar, if kids are not allergic to peanuts, but putting something that they really, really like into a jar that they can't open. And then they have to give you the jar to make it happen. Love that.
Yeah, and you could do things like teaching head nods, teaching them to even take an adult over to where they want something. So if the cookies are in their cupboard and they're their favorite cookies, even if they can't yet point or gesture or use pictures, they could pull the adult over and show them what they want. Pictures are another great way to communicate. Can they learn to point to a picture or exchange a picture, use a picture in exchange for the item that they want?
So what I always advise parents is to try and make the room as free from distractions as possible. So in trying to create those requests, you want to make sure that there's not like a gazillion toys everywhere, right? So I'll tell parents to put things up high, put things out of reach, rotate toys on a regular basis so that the kiddo's only seeing, 3 to 5 toys a day, and that they're not getting satiated. So every week their toys change.
And it's counterintuitive because parents want it all available to their kids at all times because we think that the more toys our kids have, the more they're going to play with them. When in reality, if we're working with a beginner learner who needs to learn to request, less is more. And really taking away the toys and making them use the adult for help, putting them in clear containers or putting them high up where they can't reach them. Obviously, not all of their toys, like they should have access to some of them, but setting these communication temptations so that they do have to communicate.
Snack time is another really great area in terms of teaching requesting, especially beginner requests, right? So, instead of giving the student, a whole bunch of things at once, so here you go, here's your meal, you can divide that up. So, I know you really, really like chicken fingers. I'm going to give you half a chicken finger at a time, and then you can request for more. Now, the exception of this is that if they don't like chicken fingers, you're not going to take away chicken fingers. You're going to put it all in front of them. If they really like juice or they really want the, whatever drink you're offering them, pour a little bit into their cup, but then when they're finished with it, then, they'll ask for more.
Yeah, so if you want to know what they should be requesting for, go back and check out our preference assessments because finding out what they want is going to be really important. You're not going to have them request for something that they're not interested in because without the motivation for that, it's not even really a true request.
Huge.